Welcome to the Reinvention Room. This room is full of women ready to reinvent, to finally feel like themselves again, full of energy and losing that stubborn midlife weight gain. Because midlife is quite often a turning point for us. We are ready to reinvent and to finally live our best as our best version of ourselves. So, if we haven't properly met yet as well, my name is Misha. I am weight loss and body image coach, and I help women over the age of 35 to lose stubborn midlife weight gain, to regain their energy and confidence. I'm going to be talking about how to lose stubborn midlife weight, keep it off, because quite often we can lose weight, but we're not able to keep it off, right? And very, very topical right now, and how to at the same time enjoy still our breaks, our holidays, without starting over, right? I've just been on holiday and I felt it's been really different for me this time. That's why I thought this is a perfect topic for many of us right now. And it's not just about summer holiday, it's about any kind of break. Because quite often we find ourselves really stuck with our weight loss. Quite a lot of us actually can lose the weight. Some of us just completely stuck, can't really lose anything. But a lot of us, we are losing and regaining, let's say, the same 10 pounds, right? And we kind of feel like we can't even enjoy our holidays. Does this sound familiar to you? Do you feel like quite often you can't even enjoy your holidays because you're just worried you're going to put too much weight on or kind of be out of control around food, right? And then we find ourselves restarting all over again. And we're in this cycle, right? Restarting. So, yeah, if you find in yourself, if you relating to this, what I just described, this training is definitely for you and will be super helpful. Let's make a start. So just a little bit about my story in terms of the, let's say, the holiday struggles, right? Let's call it the holidays or the kind of break struggles that I experienced in the past, right? So I would quite often lose some weight, right? I would be on, I don't know, there were so many diets I was on, honestly. Weight Watchers was the big one. I've been on that a few times, dropped off, came back, right? And I always found myself regaining weight. So yeah, I would kind of lose a few pounds. I'll be really happy, right? I would go on holiday. It would be like a Christmas break, Easter break, anything like that. Or even sometimes actually weekend, right? And some kind of wedding, some kind of occasion. And I would just go a little bit crazy, let's say. I would be a little bit like, right, this is kind of like, wow, this is like a break for me, right? Now I can finally enjoy myself. That is exactly how I felt, right? Like I can enjoy myself. I can have a break from this strict diet, right? So yes, I would go a little bit crazy. I would just go full on, full carbs, because that's what I used to love. Just loads of pasta, loads of desserts, cocktails, right? Cocktails was kind of the big one, all the kind of sweet cocktails. And the reason why I felt like that is because I was on a diet, like it's somebody else's prescribed diet, right? As I said in the example of Weight Watchers, that was not really what was aligned with me, logging in everyday food, looking at points and God knows what else, right? So the reason why I went a little bit out of control when I went on holiday is because I was like, wow, okay, so now I can have this break, right? I can finally have a break and enjoy myself. So, as I said, I would just go a little bit crazy. And I felt like, on this holiday, really, I have contemplated and I just kind of compared how different the holidays are now, specifically, very specifically, this one actually. Our holidays these days are all inclusive. So I'm sure most of you were on all inclusive. You just get everything, right? It's very tempting, right? You got so many choices. You can just go a little bit crazy there if you're not careful and just want to try all sorts of different things. And that's exactly what I used to do, right? I found myself just walking past foods like, I don't know, fried chicken, right? One example, creamy pasta dishes. That's what the kind of things like I would go for. Anything really that I really used to crave, or I was kind of thinking like, oh, I can't have this on my diet, right? I just found myself really easy just to walk past, right? And I would just not be bothered at all. And the same with, for example, drinks, right? As I mentioned, I would have cocktails. On this holiday, I'm like, actually, I know cocktails make me feel like rubbish. And actually, because I've been not eating a lot of sugar, I find them so, so sweet these days anyway. So actually, that was quite easy. So I still had alcohol, I was drinking some beer, which was really nice. And I had some rosé, which was really dry, nice rosé. So I just really found myself, I was filling up on the right stuff, right? So this is what I would also recommend on the holidays. Always go high protein. So I would have like whole foods, chicken, beef, lamb, really lovely slow cooked lamb and beef. And I would have mostly veggies. I mean, some amazing, amazing veggies, right? Like courgette, aubergines, roasted peppers. And then they had also the salad bar. So, always just fill up on a salad, fill up on the veggies, have loads of it, right? It's very low calories mostly. I mean, you're not 100% sure what they're cooking it in, but mostly it's very low in calories. And yeah, as I said, they always gave me a really good portion. I had good portion of chicken, beef, lamb. So it would be at least minimum of 30 grams of protein per meal. That is what I recommend, at least 30 grams per meal, right? Yes, I would have some desserts. They were amazing. So I did not miss those. And I was absolutely fine with that, right? And honestly, by the end of the holiday, I actually couldn't wait to get into my old routine, right? Because this is what I created. This is my lifestyle. The way I eat, the way I live is what I enjoy, right? So actually, I found myself like looking forward to go back to that because I felt in the end, having a bit too much alcohol, a bit too much sugar, I felt a little bit like, actually, I'm looking forward to go back to my diet because I created the version of myself who likes healthy food, who likes to move, who likes to choose the healthy options, the vegetables, the salads, right? The whole meals and the lovely meats. And I'm never hungry, I eat a lot. I do eat a lot. I'm hardly ever going hungry, okay? But I'm not afraid to be hungry. I do fast. But when I eat, I have big portions, okay? And I fill up on the right things. So what's kind of different between when I went on holiday and went all out and just couldn't resist anything? And then what would happen, right? And this is the important part. What would happen, I would come back. I was not able to go back to that Weight Watcher straight away, right? Not straight away, sometimes not at all, or whatever diet I was on. So what would happen after that break? I would just fall off the wagon. I would just carry on eating the wrong things. And then when I would find myself regaining all the weight, right? So I would be like, wow, okay, in literally like few weeks, couple of months, I would, of course, avoid the scales for a while. And then I would look at the scales and I'll be like, wow, I have regained everything what I worked so hard for because I wasn't able to go back after the holiday on that diet. Okay. So I was not able to just carry on, let's say in that example with the Weight Watchers. And I found myself in these cycles all over and over again. So why is it different now? Okay. The main reason is because I worked on my identity. Okay. So the way I identify myself, because actually I knew what I was supposed to eat. I knew it for a very long time, right? What was healthy, what wasn't, what macros, what this and that, right? I had the information. The information wasn't the issue. The issue was the way I was identifying myself, right? I was identifying myself as somebody who can't stick to a diet, somebody who always regain weight, somebody who is not consistent, somebody who likes that naughty food, right? So I basically worked on my identity, on my mindset, right? It's really what it is. You can call it different things. But basically, what it means, I created a different version of myself. And really, this is what I see. This is the biggest transformation, right? When women I work with work on their identity, when they create that different version of themselves, when they basically work on their mindset. Of course, you need the information, right? Of course, you need to have the right personalized information. And by personalized, I mean to your specific, what you like, what works for your lifestyle, what works for your, let's say, health conditions, right? That's really important for your health issues, right? Because food is a medicine, right? So yes, it needs to be personalized. You do need to have the right information. So I'm not talking about just work on your mindset, right? That is not what I'm talking about. However, to get a pair that with that identity shift is what makes that, what allows for that transformation to happen, and for that change, and for that creation of your different version of yourself. That's what make it possible in a really much easier way, right? Because we're not pushing. It's just natural when we create a new version of ourselves. So what's really important to understand, and what I have done quite a few trainings on, is about your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. What's important to understand is that 95% of our subconscious mind is driven by automated or learned behavior. So what we need to do, we need to change our subconscious mind, right? Because only 5% really is our conscious mind. It's basically as a passenger, right? The bus driver, basically 95% of your decision is decided by your subconscious mind. Okay, so it's not conscious, right? So this is a really big thing, really important thing to understand. So it's not you, right? The reason why you fail after that holiday, you can't go back to your diet, it's your programming, right? So it's the programming that we need to change. Today, what I want to talk about is our three minds, because we've got three different minds. Okay, and I think this explanation, when this was explained to me, it really clicked for me. So this is a really good explanation. And then I'm going to give you some practical steps as well, how basically you can create this different version of yourself. So your mind works in three parts, right? You got your thinking mind. So this is when you're learning things. You got your doing mind. So this is when you take action. And then you got your being mind. So this is when it becomes your identity. So whatever you learn, then whatever action you take, right? From your learning, of course, you take action. And then eventually it becomes your identity. And of course, your identity is created by repeated thoughts, repeated actions. So this is how your habits around food, energy, self-care were created as well. So let's have a little bit closer look at the thinking mind. So this is the learning mind, right? So for example, you are watching this training, right? So for example, I should eat better, right? I should look into the subconscious mind, into my three minds, create a new version of myself, okay? But, how many times you kind of watched training, you read information, and you were kind of just thinking, okay, I should eat high protein, right? And then, you probably told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. And then you haven't actually done that, right? You didn't take any action. I'm sure, many of us, everyone did this, right? Of course we did. So the key point is that knowing isn't the problem, okay? And then our doing mind, right? So this is when we start our routines, we take actions from the information we learned, we're doing this for a few days, few weeks, and then what happens? Life happens, and we, let's say, get a poor sleep, we feel low on energy, or our life suddenly gets much busier, we feel much more stressed. We got, of course, at this stage of life, our hormones are all over the place, and we skip the habits and we tell ourselves, okay, I'm going to start again. And this is really the cycle that most women are stuck in, right? So we are stuck in this action stage, right? It's simply because we haven't addressed our being mind, okay? And then, of course, moving on to our being mind, as I said, this is our identity, and we absolutely can create a new version, different version of ourselves. And this is really who you believe you are. What feels normal for you, natural for you. So, you can identify as somebody, as I said, I identify as somebody who actually couldn't stay consistent and couldn't resist all the naughty foods, right? And the important thing is your body will always match your identity. You will want to prove yourself right, your brain right, okay? So as I mentioned, the main issue is that why we are stuck in this cycle and why we losing, regaining weight, or we just stuck, right? We can't stay consistent with our habits, even when we know what to do. You are changing at the doing level, but not the being level, okay? You're not changing at the being level, just on the action level. Your brain is really wired for familiarity, not success. So it keeps proving to you, yes, I am tired. Yes, I'm not consistent. You kind of notice in the instances when you are not consistent, right? And you kind of reinforcing that that's true. Today, I wasn't able to stick to my exercise routine. I was not able to get myself to the gym. So I'm proving myself I'm not consistent, right? And this is like you're reinforcing that over and over and over again. And especially in midlife, right? When our hormones are all over the place, our energy dips, we are perhaps more stressed. It just keeps reinforcing this unhelpful identity. So how do we change this? Okay. So what we need to do, we need to align our three minds and make them work together. We need to learn differently at the thinking mind. So what this involves is to see a new possibility, is to look at our beliefs. What do we actually believe about ourselves and our behavior? And we need to challenge these beliefs. At doing stage, we need to act differently, right? We need to take small, consistent actions and not, of course, focus on any kind of perfection, right? Small, consistent actions are the key for change, and that's what creates our identity as well. And then at being level, we need to repeat these actions. Once we challenged our beliefs, we have now new beliefs. We are able to act differently, right? Because every action is evidence for new identity, for a new version of yourself. So now I'm going to give you a really practical exercise how you can change and create a new version of yourself. So what we need to do is really retrain our RAS, which is our reticular activating system, okay? And change our limiting beliefs. So kind of step one, right? We need to have a look at what story do you keep telling yourself, right? So this is where we need to identify our beliefs. We need to sit down and really, ideally, write this down, right? So what story do you keep telling yourself? Let's say my hormones are stopping me from losing weight. I heard this so many times, right? I'll never stay consistent. So common. I always gain the weight back, right? I can't stick to healthy diet, right? And then we need to just name them all, anything that what comes up. And sometimes it's like I want to lose weight, but okay, and that is how you get the limiting belief if you're struggling to get them, right? It's always kind of put in the end of the sentence, like you want to do something, but. That's how you get so many of them. And then we need to challenge them, right? So is this 100% true? And let's find 3 pieces of evidence that prove otherwise. So, for example, I made healthy choices this week. I have lost weight before, right? And I was able to maintain it for a while. I've stayed consistent with other things in my life. Look at other areas in your life. Just because you might not be the most consistent in terms of your healthy routine, lifestyle, or diet, or whatever, you might be very good in other areas of your life. So find proof there. And then we need to replace it, right? So instead of, I'll never lose weight because of my hormones, let's say, try instead, my hormones may make it more challenging, but I can still lose weight with the right approach. So what we're looking for is more helpful identity, the way we identify ourselves. So more helpful beliefs. Or like, for example, if you, as me, I believe that I can never stay consistent, more helpful belief is I'm becoming someone who follows through one choice at a time, right? So just by small steps. And then what's important, you need to train your focus mind. Basically part of the brain that picks parts that want to focus on. So we need to retrain that. We need to retrain that part of our brain. So whatever we focus on, we get. So every, let's say, evening, in the end of the day, whenever it's helpful for you and it works for you, but evening makes sense, ask yourself, what healthy choice did I make today? And then, of course, find evidence for that, right? I had healthy breakfast, I went out for a walk, and so on and so on. Where did I support my body, right? How did you support your body? I took vitamins. I got enough sunlight. I ate nourishing meals. And what am I proud of today? Okay? Every healthy choice is another vote for the woman you're becoming. And when we focus on what we're doing right, we're retraining our reticular system, right? And honestly, this sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. You only do this for a few days and you retrain your brain to focus on the positive things. And really, by challenging your limiting beliefs and by focusing on what you're doing right, you become more consistent, one habit at a time. And eventually, everything becomes much, much easier. It becomes so much easier to follow on your plan, on your healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, and so on. Because you retrained basically your brain, right? You retrained your focus. I find this very easy to explain. It's kind of 4 steps, right? And it's very powerful. For example, my client Kim, she was in menopause. She really felt exhausted, stuck, disconnected. She felt like she can't stay consistent. She can't lose weight. She kind of believed like she can't lose weight because she kept saying, I have no discipline. I'm not disciplined, right? And she focused constantly on what she was doing wrong, right? When she was describing herself, it was in a really negative way. So we used these 4 steps. We changed focus. We changed what she was focusing on. She basically challenged her beliefs and she very quickly saw progress. She felt very different because of that. And because she felt different, she acted differently, okay? Because really we do act on our feelings. And yes, she eventually lost 2 dress sizes and she was able to keep that weight off as well. So what if there is absolutely nothing wrong with you, right? What if your brain is just trained to stick to your old identity and you need to create a new version of yourself?